Hi guys, the podcast you're about to hear needs a bit of a disclaimer. Gemma and I recorded it quite late in the evening after we'd both been working for about 7 or 8 hours. It was completely black, pitch black outside, other than the campfire. And so, as is pretty normal, I think we'd both gone a little bit loopy and a little bit introspective. So just bear that in mind when you're listening to this podcast. Might be a little bit extra waffle, but then, that's pretty normal for this podcast. Enjoy!
Doors at butterflies.
What butterflies? Did you name any butterflies that were in your garden?
I have only seen peacocks and red admirals recently. Yeah. I've seen some little brown ones I didn't know the name of. Brown fuckers. And my mum said some of them are called ringlets, which are dark brown but with a lighter circle on their wings when they're closed. They're ringlets. And then another one, I can't remember what it was.
Yeah. I've already started it.
Oh, okay. Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. I don't know where I put my earplugs. Oh crikey.
So we're out in the woods. It is approaching pitch black.
It's not that late though, is it?
No, it's not.
What time is it? It is it's 10 to 10 at night.
We've decided to forego all worldly possessions and we now live in the woods. Yeah, we're doing a family camping night in the woods and everybody's gone to bed, but possibly not to sleep because a pair of little owls has just...
I think those were actually tawnies, those ones. That was a female and a male. The female's like, squeak, squeak, and the male goes, whoo.
There you go.
Yeah.
Bird quiz number 3.
Bird quiz.
It's coming back, guys.
I wonder if they can hear. I wonder if they can hear the owl on the recording. I don't know.
Maybe not. Maybe we're just mental.
Yeah.
But we thought we would record a special nighttime edition, which is why our voices are so silky smooth.
Late night for school.
Relax.
Gemma and Lewis.
Take off your dungarees.
Let those wellies whiff the room out.
Shake off those tops and get that charcoal out of your eye.
Yeah.
Oh, they're going again. So we not actually hear that often in the night?
No. And it's very still and it's very nice. And we've set up a moth lamp for the first time ever, and I'm really hoping it's going to work because last time we did this, when we were packing down the tents, somebody had basically made a moth lamp, haven't they, in their tent by hanging up a little light from the ceiling.
Well, we thought it was a birch twig, didn't we?
It was a
looked
buff
exactly
tip.
like.
If you haven't seen a buff
birch
tip moth, check out a picture because it is so detailed. It's literally like a snapped birch twig, complete with the snapped inside bit.
Its head was like that orangey inside of the wood colour, and it had the black bits, and it even had round the edge of the orange, what you would see, the snapped bits.
Like a 3D printed image. It was
mental.
So who knows, maybe in the morning we'll have loads of buff tips and loads of other crazy moths to have a look. I really hope it works.
I do.
I've started doing a thing in the summer when I go and shut my chickens' henhouse door thing, which is down the end of the garden, and so I used to take just my phone or a torch, and now I don't do that and just try and just see without...
Haven't you got hidden ponds in your garden?
I have got hidden ponds in my garden, but they have got sort of covers on them.
Let's hope they're good covers.
If you do it, especially now, I wish I could remember the name of it. There is some kind of word that talks about the level of darkness through the seasons. Maybe a listener will know this. It's got a cool name. Maybe going with A, about how...
Absolutely dark.
Well, I think it's basically absolutely not dark. So this time of year, even though the sun, it's not like, the north, Scandinavia where the sun never goes down. The sun does go down, but the sky doesn't actually get pitch black. Just sort of goes this sort of dark navy colour.
I do know what you mean. Yeah.
So if you just sort of challenge yourself to go outside and walk around without a torch, then don't sue me when you break your leg, but do try it because it's really cool.
So this is an interest. So night walks without torches are definitely a valuable activity, and so is letting your eyes get used to the dark slowly.
Yeah.
But I'm yet to find the balance between. So I've only ever seen like night walks done in actual darkness. When I was at not a forest school, I was at like an outdoor learning centre, and essentially the teacher was like the most dictatorial person, and before they went on the walk he walked around with a bag and took all the torches off the kids, and then was like, now we're going on a walk. Whereas whenever we've tried to do like, hey, get used to the light slowly here, torches are so fun that you almost need to do like successive nights so that you can be like, okay, if I was going to do it, 2 or 3 night thing with the kids, you'd be like, first night you fill your boots with torch play, let's play torch tag, let's do whatever, so that the next night you could get it out of it, you could then go, let's try a different thing. But it's that one of those things where sometimes I do want to knock that child-led spectrum back up a little bit and kind of go, oh, I know you would get so much out of this if you would just you would just go with me this first couple of bits. You would really, I know you'd all enjoy this. But if they're not there, they're not there.
A lot of head torches have the red light on them now, don't they? So it doesn't actually get rid of your night sight, and it's but it helps you to see a bit, which is good.
Well, somebody brought, didn't they, to the last family camping session, they brought like a military night vision goggles, which I hadn't realised. So I just thought they were like a lens, like a funny lens that sort of lit up inside or did something. I didn't realise it was essentially a camera and a screen. And so when you put it on your eyes, it was like, I've not used them, but what I imagine they're VR things where people put their phones on their faces. It was like that, your eyeballs are a centimetre away from a screen. It was very
weird.
Yeah, very weird.
I was staying in an Airbnb last night, and it was down a dark alleyway, and the lady whose house it was like, oh, then, and obviously you've noticed that there's no street lights, so but you'll have your torch, won't you, when you come back in the dark, you have your phones. And I said, well, actually, I'm trying to do this thing at the moment where I don't use torches and I'm just walking around in the dark. And she was like, haha, yeah, but anyway, you've got your torch. Oh, a moth just attacked me. And
you know why? It's because you called them little brown fuckers. They've heard.
I didn't, did I?
The moth, you did. The moth community is going to have you.
No, that was a butterfly. Anyway, not the same.
You were walking down the dark alley.
And I may have had a cocktail, which I had one. And then I looked up and I nearly pooped my pants, right? And I was like, what the heck? Because up above me on the left-hand side, on the roof of the house, were all these like white glowing blobs, and I looked at them, and it was a row of seagulls, all perched there with their asses. Shit. Their asses were like being illuminated from like underneath a little bit, and also they're just white, so they, your eyes just like, what the fuck? And they're all. And then I spoke to the landlady in the morning. She said, "Yep, they're all on sentry duty. They're like watching their babies. Their babies are all like." Roosting on the opposite roof, and so all the adults stand there like soldiers just staring at the birds, at the babies at night time, because they're almost ready to fly but not quite, so they're like on sentry duty, just all there in a regimented row of these white asses kind of, and, what the heck. So yeah, I didn't expect that. Have you ever watched the meteor showers?
No, I haven't. That would be a thing that I think
they're coming up. I
am envious of people who run their forest schools in forests and meadows.
Yeah.
To have a bit of open skies. But I mean, we could definitely go into the field at the bottom of the woods. No one's gonna.
I bet the landowner's listening to this right now.
You reckon?
I'm just looking up.
Meteor showers, when they're coming.
Yeah.
We're in the southwest of England.
Ooh.
What?
I think it might be now. Ooh, hang on.
That would be an incredible coincidence. And perfect.
I thought it was usually like the 12th of August, but let's have a look. Oh yeah, I'm right. Oh my god. The Perseid meteor shower peaks between the nights of 11th and 13th of August. So stay up late, and if it's clear, and there is a certain direction you have to look
Is that just in Europe? Or Northern Hemisphere, or what?
This is for the UK.
Okay.
It'll be different times, but it's best seen around 2 a.m. local time, just after moon set. So moon set on August the 12th is like 2:20, so that is pretty late. But I have done it and only stayed up till about midnight, 12:30, and seen some really good ones with my sister. But there's loads of trees around where we live as well, and so it's quite hard to get a good viewpoint. So we found that the best place was to lie in the road and look at the sky, and I was just trying to work out whether the milk lorry had already been passed, or if I could remember what time the milk truck came, because otherwise we'd be flat. But we survived. It was fine.
Do you live in a 1940s chocolate box village?
No.
The milkman still comes?
No, not that milkman, like that goes to the farms.
Oh, like a dairy lorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was imagining, man in a white cap going ding-a-ling-a-ling, it's me.
No, I mean like a huge, very long, heavy lorry.
A tanker.
A milk tanker.
Oh, how quaint. I was just thinking, in my village, I'm not sure if it's to do with energy saving or light pollution, but they turn off all the street lights I think they go off at about 11.
I think that does happen.
And then they come on
places.
at like 5. Well, some of them aren't on when I go to the gym in the morning at 5ish, so they must come back on about then. I was just thinking that would be a good place to watch.
Yeah. Just go to the gym at 3 instead of 5. Yeah,
why not?
Why not? It won't make any difference to you.
It doesn't.
And then you can get back and have a little snooze. Get back into bed.
I don't want to
drunk your can of Monster and lifted your weights.
I want to catch who's in there before me, because whoever is in there before. So I get into the gym at 5 a.m. Whoever's in there before, I can only assume that all but does a piss in the middle of the gym. They just rip all the weights off and put them on the floor, and then they're like, that bar goes here, and they just throw it.
They just mess up the gym.
They just mess it up. Yeah.
Weird.
I know, it drives me mental.
Do you go in and tidy it all up?
I do. You know what I do? My little OCD has to be like, okay, there's 20 kilo plates on each side of that, and then the tins above that, and then the 5s go. But it's quite anal.
That's part of your routine.
That's part of
so you have to lift in order to tidy up.
Yeah. Very strong.
Yeah.
Hi guys, wanted to jump into the middle of this rambling chat. I'm apologising again for the nighttime madness. Gemma and I are at a wilderness gathering in Somerset on the 15th to the 18th of August. It's a really nice family festival. There's loads of bushcraft skills going on. We're there representing the Forest School Association, so we'll be doing some chatting to people and showing them where the nearest forest schools are, and we're going to be recording a live podcast. So if you're either already going or want to come down to Wilderness Gathering, as I say, it's 15th to the 18th of August. And there's still some tickets on their website. Let's get back to the madness. I was going to say something so wildlife is quite an interesting thing to do at night. Because I think there's this thing with children where they're sort of aware and curious about nocturnal animals, but really don't have the... we've talked before about the fact that, nature doesn't give a shit about, nature doesn't come down and go oh, you're only 4, so I'll get the badgers to come out. Even if you're making a bit of noise. All nocturnal animals, I feel are just no, this is made very inaccessible. You'd have to have some real perseverance to sit still and sit in a hide and to do all that stuff. And I think that is sometimes part of the joy of it, is that because you can't fake it, when you do, that's not true. I don't know about you, but I've definitely been on camping trips with kids where you go on a night walk, and it's say 7 o'clock, it's just getting dark. And
and then you get back and you sit around the camp and you go, what did everyone see? And all of them would be like, we saw badgers, and there was definitely 9 owls, and a bat landed on my head. And you're like, oh, okay. Is that a valuable experience if that's what you think you saw? I don't know, it's quite an interesting...
It is interesting in terms of us like talking about native animals that are nocturnal, so talking about badgers and talking about hedgehogs, and for most of those children they have never seen them.
No.
And probably will never see them in their lives.
Unless they're on the side of the road.
Yeah, that's true actually. You see dead ones.
Yeah. Sorry, but yeah.
But then kind of talking about them or doing any kind of activities about them, really learning kind of stuff about them.
Yeah.
How easy it is for those children to like access and actually give a shit about that, because, well, I've never seen them, you know. I guess, and yeah, it's about kind of wondering how far a child's imagination can extend if they see a badger set, for example, and you can say, well, that is where they live, and right now they're all under the ground asleep. Children spend their whole lives having stories told to them and listening to stories and watching stories. It's like, do they believe that and go, oh, okay, yeah, can they actually conceive of that idea that that's real? Or do they just go, oh, yeah, that's another adult telling me a story?
Well, I think it's a similar thing. There's quite often people talk about, like, how many children can name. It's like, they go like, oh, that's a gazelle, and that's a giraffe, and that's a hippo, and you go, right, what lives in your garden? Oh, fuck knows.
I know, yeah.
So,
well, yeah, it happens all the time whenever we ask for kind of suggestions for animals or birds in songs, and the amount of time, you'll get like, what's a bird you've seen recently? A blue jay. Like, no. We have seen it recently on the telly.
Yeah.
In a film, so that is legitimate as part of a child's experience, but those names come more readily, don't they, to the...
Well, and also the... it's almost... I think it's because they're... I'm thinking how young children are kind of very much in push towards, like, farmyard animals. I don't know if this is just a Europe and America thing, but it's, like, really important that all our toddlers know the noises of cows and pigs and sheep. But they don't need to, that we don't. But I wondered if it's because farms have a finite and set number of animals, and they're very distinct from one another. Whereas if you start getting into birds, it's harder to say, like, well, no, because that's actually got, like, a grey stripe down it.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, a cow does not look like a duck.
And what does the fox say?
No, fuck off.
So... No one knows. But you can't do that. You can't make a badger noise or a fox noise. I mean, people don't, and so therefore they can't. It's just a repetitive thing, isn't it? It's like...
They're the spiral.
Yeah.
Nobody knows, so nobody knows.
Yeah.
So nobody knows, so nobody knows. And I think, as well, part of the, like, inaccessibility is the inconsistency of it. So you can't, even if you say, if you sit still, a badger might come out. There's no definite about it. And there's such a... I wonder if it's sort of... Entitlement feels like a strong word, but because if you take children, even to, like, I disagree with them in principle, but like wildlife parks and things like that, there's a feeling of entitlement of seeing the animal and being like, well, I wanted to see the tawny owl, or I wanted to see the whatever. Whereas,
I just remember when I lived in Australia, we were in a national park, and there was like a protected area of coastline where the seals were protected, so they were living wild, but there was like an information centre about them, and there was a family speaking to a lady behind the information desk, and she was talking about like other nature reserve type places locally, and she was talking about a koala nature reserve. The dad was with his 2 kids. He's like, all right, koalas, all right, quite near here, say, all right, can they touch them? And she was like, not really. Like, it's a reserve. It's just that it means that, it's a friendly habitat for them to live in, and we don't destroy it. And he's like, but they can't touch them. The kids can't touch them. Well, what's the point of that? They can't touch them. Not going. that is that. Like you're saying.
Yeah. Commodity.
That's the point. Like, if we can't touch them, why the heck would I go?
Yeah.
These are, Yeah.
Yeah, and what we're willing to put in for not a guarantee.
It's quite. Sometimes I wonder about I'd like to read more about feeding birds in this country, right? Because some people that I know go, no, I don't feed the birds because I don't think that's right.
Okay.
Because that's sort of, that's I'm intervening, and it's not fair and it's not right. Like, I'm causing the birds in my garden to become dependent on me.
Right.
And if I forget, or if I don't do it, or if I feed them the wrong thing, that's central. And also I'm kind of inflating their population by feeding them in a way that might not be natural and healthy. So I do know people that don't feed the birds for that reason. And there's also stuff about not putting out certain foodstuffs at certain times because it can choke the chicks and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes I do wonder whether there is a bit of, not necessarily truth, but sometimes I do think, why are we feeding the birds? Are we feeding the birds because we love them and we want them to flourish and do well? We want to support them, or are we feeding them because we can see them and therefore we just want to see them? Can we touch them? Can we touch them? Are they as close as possible to our house so we can actually see them up close and maybe touch them? And that feeling of
I think
they're just here for my enjoyment rather than they exist in the world.
I think there's a spectrum, obviously, of people. There will be some people who say, I only put bird feed out because I want the birds to visit, and there will be some people who...
But would you actually admit it? Do you know what I mean? If you challenge your own attitude towards...
there would be some people who would.
And it's some people loving some, my dad, for example, loves birds and knows loads about them, but he really, really hates some types of birds. So he'll put food out for the birds, and then if pigeons or crows eat it, he just gets angry. He gets really, really upset that the pigeons and the crows are eating the food. And crows, he will say, it's because they eat eggs, they eat the chicks, whatever, horrible things. But it's really this bird is allowed to eat the food and this bird isn't.
Yeah, well, I mean, as I say, I think there's a whole spectrum of right the way from people who would admit it to people who then go, oh, maybe, no, I do it because I do it, and then there'd be people that just go, oh, check it out. But I think probably there's an element, I think, where I go, well, it's probably all right, because I imagine there are lots of birds who have developed a bit like those birds that sit on an elephant's back and eat the bugs.
Oh yeah.
So there'd be bird populations that have flourished and developed because of it. So like robins.
Because of humans.
Because of
over
humans.
a long, long time.
Right.
Yeah.
But whether that's now modern day putting bird feed out, or 1,000 years ago we had shit grain bags made of hessian, and so the grain used to fall out, or before that when we're just literally leaving it in a pile and going, right, none of you touch that, and then there's a symbiosis
that has been happening for
many
years.
Time.
Yeah, whether or not you choose to put the food out, you have already affected the lives of the birds.
I mean, you live in a house that exists on land.
Yeah.
You have already...
I live in a house that exists on land that the crows want back.
Oh, the crows.
And my mum came to stay last night, and I was like, how was your night? She just said, the crows. The crows. The owls, and then the crows. So she didn't get a very good night's sleep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Night birds are an interesting thing, aren't they?
Nightjars. I went on my nightjar survey. Did I tell you about my nightjar survey?
You didn't tell me about your nightjar survey.
Went nightjar surveying. That's fun. So they...
See, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But in my head, you stood there essentially like one of those charity muggers and surveyed the nightjars as to...
Where are you from?
What's your...
You're from Africa too? Okay. What is your purpose here? Breeding? Okay.
Brexit's coming, mate. I'm afraid nightjars are out.
So I'm sure I talked about this last podcast.
Maybe
Maybe I
you
did. Sorry if I did. But they come, I think, from Africa. That's right. And they come here to breed. But they like very specific habitat, which is recently felled plantation. It's quite interesting, right? Because we are generally led to believe that plantation is not great for wildlife. But nightjars like either felled or wind-blown
Plantation.
Conifers. And so they nest on the ground, I think on the ground, pretty sure on the ground, in that habitat. And they are nocturnal, and they make this churring noise, which is completely unmistakable. Like, you hear it and you're like, what the heck is that? Then it's a nightjar. It's like really raspy, low noise. And then they also, when they flap their wings, they clap them together above their head. So you hear that, it's kind of like churring noise, and then like that. And the area of outstanding natural beauty wanted a survey done, so it was a bit of citizen science. You go out with the maps,
cool.
and then you went at dusk, which was about 11 o'clock when I went, because it was about a month ago, and then at dawn again to the same place to see if they were still there, so you could definitely say that was a nesting site. And some just behind our house. Amazing.
Oh wow.
Yeah, very cool. What were you going to say about nocturnal birds?
Only I was thinking about the relative sort of space that they have, and that it's quite an interesting thing that it's not equally nocturnal birds and diurnal birds. Is it diurnal?
Yeah.
Diurnal birds and nocturnal birds, and that you do have you ever been somewhere where you've had a really, so I've never had it here, but I have been in woodlands in other places and camped out, and had that, I don't know I can't remember what it's called now, when you're sort of walking and all the birds realise that it's dark and they all just stop.
Yeah.
And if you catch it at the right time, you get that really interesting, like, oh okay, yeah, there's lots of a bit less. Oh, this is weird. And they just all stop. Made me wonder about the sort of audible space that they have. Whereas in the day, all the birds are sort of competing over sound waves.
Yeah.
And birds at night have so much less to compete with.
Yeah. They say that's why robins in cities sing at night, because it's so noisy in cities. So the male robins wait till night time when it's quiet and sing their heads off, by which time all the females have gone to bed. The poor buggers just stay very lonely, apparently.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's very sad.
Yeah. Apparently most of the time that you think you're hearing a nightingale, it's usually either a robin or a thrush, both of which sing in the evening. Because nightingales are so rare now. You just,
Well, it's quite interesting.
seldom hear them.
I think it would be interesting to. So I was talking to Katie that works with us, who does beach schools. Just because I was just playing in my head about, like, oh, I wonder if anybody does regular dusk forest school. Whether you could. And actually, it occurred to me that it would be similar. So she was saying beach schools, one of the issues, well, not issues, challenges, is that the tide times change. So you can't have a 10 o'clock session every day, every week. You have to have it at different times. I was thinking dusk would be very similar in that, you couldn't run a session. I mean, we have sessions in the winter where it starts to get a little bit dark, or it's dark when children arrive sometimes, but never very, very dark.
Quite a few people do after school clubs that go into darkness in the winter, don't they?
Yes.
And talk about all the fun stuff they get up to, playing with torches and And that must be so exciting, like being on your school field or in your school woodland in the dark.
Be amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even conceive of how you clear up at the end of a session. Absolutely.
Floodlights.
They all just go home and you're just there in a dark pile of muddy tarps.
Yeah.
I'd just leave it. A bit like we did the other day.
I'd be interested to hear from anybody that does run after school clubs and things that run into the dark. What's that like? What do you do?
I've seen quite a few discussions about it online.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think most people just say, don't plan anything. But like you're saying with the torches, it's just so exciting.
Yeah.
That
Well, just moving around and navigating at night becomes such a... I do think the moving around in woodland at night or dusk is... it's almost like a forced mindfulness.
Yeah.
Because you really... It's so challenging that you can't hold a conversation even and walk sometimes. You have to just go, right, I've got to put all my energy into my proprioception right now and think about what my body's doing, and challenges your knowledge of your sight.
Yeah.
I definitely am a bit overconfident here at night. I'm like, I know where I'm going here all the time, and I'll be fine, and then twist my ankle or something.
Yeah.
It's very it's very, very still, isn't it? There's no wind tonight.
I really want to go and look at the moth lamp.
Shall we go and look at the moth?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's leave that there then.
Okay.
Okay. Sleep night.
Bye.
Bye.